Hello, good afternoon. My name is Michael Kofiodro. Of course, this is Sports Direct, running between now and top of the hour one. On Friday afternoons like this, when we gather, we have a simple business of previewing the big happenings over the weekend. And today's show will be no exception as we bring you previews into Ghana's Africa Cup of Nations qualify against the Harambee Stars of Kenya. And that happens tomorrow in Nairobi. Kwesi Appiah has the full complement of his squad to select the first 11 from where we'll be bringing you team news from the Black Stars camp, as well as look at some other qualifiers ongoing as far as the AFCON 2019 is concerned. And then we'll also delve into the UEFA Nations League. This is the inaugural UEFA Nations League. We have some highlights and previews into matches coming up to share with you. And the biggest happening this weekend in the world of sports, obviously, is tennis. And that is the Grand Slam final. The US Open is the last Grand Slam of the season. And Japanese Naomi Osaka debuts in the US Open final. And she's hopeful of causing one of the major upsets in tennis as she braces herself up for the final against Serena Williams. But on the local front, something big is also happening in tennis. It has started, but tomorrow is the climax and is the Hope Performance Tennis Championship. And we'll also be bringing you details of that. We have some brains behind the Hope Performance Tennis competition here with us in the studio to throw more light on it, giving hope to the next generation as far as local tennis is concerned. But let's do some highlights from the UEFA Nations League, where France, Areola, the goalkeeper of the French national team, was the star of the day as his superb performance aids France in a goalless drawn game with Germany. And in other matches, some interesting results were recorded. Let's bring you highlights from the UEFA Nations League. Okay, we'll bring you the highlights from the UEFA Nations for the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, and that is the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. So matches coming up tomorrow. Comoros Island are at home to Cameroon, the reigning African champions, and Kenya will at 1 p.m. take on the Black Stars of Ghana. And now it is certain that Atletico Madrid forward Thomas Partey will be the man to captain the Black Stars. But the exciting news is that Kwesi Appiah has the full complement of the 20-man squad to choose the first 11 from. His goalkeepers very fit. The defense, everybody is solid. Kojo Asamoah, who had injury concerns, has revealed that he is very fit and ready to make his Black Stars first appearance the last 4 years. South Africa will take on Libya at 1 p.m. tomorrow, with Uganda taking on Tanzania, and Namibia lock on there. And in other matches, Southern Sudan will take on Mali, Swaziland will play Tunisia, with Rwanda taking on Ivory Coast. Congo will take on Zimbabwe, and Angola against Botswana. Liberia will take on Congo DR. Togo face Benin, with Guinea sorting things out with Central African Republic. So these are the matches coming up in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier CAN 2019. And of course, the Black Stars are very hopeful of making it to the finals of the championship and to think of winning what will be Ghana's 5th Africa Cup of Nations success, something we've been waiting for in over 3 decades. But we'll see how that turns out to be. Remember that we'll also be bringing you news on the UEFA Nations League. But like I said, in tennis, the last Grand Slam of the season is on, and it is the US Open Tennis Championship. Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka from Japan set up a tie in the finals, and at 8 p.m. today, Rafael Nadal, the top seed for the US Open Tennis Championship, will take on Juan Martin Del Potro from Argentina, with Novak Djokovic also taking on Kai Nishikori. And the US Open may be a championship for the Japanese. There's one Japanese in Naomi Osaka in the final, and Kai Nishikori also hopeful of staging an upset against Novak Djokovic to make his way through to the final. But talking about tennis, the Hope Performance Tennis Championship, so you have a confirmation of the fixtures on your screens for the semi-finals of the US Open Tennis Championship in the men's division. But as I said, the Hope Performance Tennis Championship is put together by a former Davis Cup team member from Ghana, who is also trying to inspire the next generation as far as tennis is concerned. So let's move on and do discussions on local tennis, but we also take the opportunity. These are tennis people, so they help us preview the big happenings in the world of tennis this weekend. Now, Enock Godi is a member of Ghana's 2012 Davis Cup team and the founder of Hope Performance Tennis, and Cedric Dzelu is the executive director of Hope Performance Tennis. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and thanks for the time on Sports Diet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
I see, Davis, but what have you been doing after the Davis Cup in 2012?
Yes, after the Davis Cup in 2012, I went back to the state, back to college where I was. So then after college, I just came back to Georgia, where I live now in Atlanta, to, put up more weight on my coaching background.
Okay, I see. We'll delve into all that, but let's first take the opportunity, since you guys are all tennis people, to preview the US Open Tennis Championship. I'm sure you might be following Serena Williams, a household name in tennis, and she's in the final. I'm sure it was expected.
Yeah, Serena Williams, for instance, I don't really know what to talk about Serena because she's kind of like the giant in tennis right now. Even though she went out there to give birth and came back and being able to go to the finals in the US Open, that tells you that lady right there is like a machine for herself, because it's not everybody that were able to do that, her going, giving birth, coming. She lost a couple of matches that prepared her for this Grand Slam, and it's something that she needs the most because she want to break some records and she want to win this one, to set another goal for herself. So I think she got it.
Now, Cedric Dzelu is Executive Director of Hope Performance Tennis. Cedric, in the men's division, there were some big casualties, including the record Grand Slam winner, Roger Federer, lost to Millman. But at least we have some top players in Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal in the semi-finals.
Yeah, obviously, you look at the performance of Federer, and there's a reason to believe that there is a declining effect in terms of his abilities. That is expected in terms of how many times he has featured and how long he has been on the tour. My favorite, Novak Djokovic, is here, and for the reason that he has kind of given himself some breaks in the tour to be able to prepare for this big, because US Open truly is a big shot. So I'm not surprised to see him in the semis, and I would not want to come with you when he said that the Japanese will give him a surprise. Certainly not. I expect that Djokovic will maintain momentum and will zoom into the final straight away.
Okay, now let's take a look at the women's final. Naomi Osaka against Serena Williams.
Well, Osaka has proven that she's here to make a name for herself. Okay. If you look at those that she has featured against very big players, and you see that she has maintained great play, more rallies, winning more vantage point and what have you. However, there is a big tide that she comes to face in Serena, and there I cannot predict. But I will not be surprised if Serena comes to the game, to the party with her experience. So it is experience that counts.
That will count. Okay. Yeah. But do you foresee an upset in the women's final? Serena Williams against Naomi Osaka.
Actually, the game of tennis, you can't tell, anything can happen, in the game of tennis. So, I can see Serena coming in there to win this thing, to win the whole thing. And I can see, Naomi also coming there to give her best out, But, at the end of the day, the best player win, but as of now, I'm going for Serena, and I think Serena is going to win this though.
Okay, the two are all rallying massive support behind Serena. They are convinced that experience will play a major role. But for those of you who do not even like tennis, there's something more to excite you about this final. Two very pretty ladies in the final, Naomi Osaka, the black Japanese, and Serena Williams. So apart from the fact that we are going to enjoy very competitive and very beautiful tennis, we're also going to have the excitement of watching two pretty ladies battle on the court. Now, in the men's semi-final, the first semi-final is on this evening at 8 p.m. Same time tomorrow, Djokovic would also take on Kai Nishikori. And Cedric, I give you the game Nadal against Martin Del Potro.
Martin Del Potro, big server, big forehand, and indefensible backhand. That is the kind of player that Nadal is coming up against.
Okay.
And I think that the Potro has the edge. Nadal has faced some few injury in the past, and that will be challenged into this game because the Potro is truly going to push him to the wall. So I'll not be surprised if the Potro has a very good day.
Okay, and how about you, Enock? Novak Djokovic against Kai Nishikori.
Novak Djokovic, Kai Nishikori. I mean, Kai Nishikori is the kind of player who can keep more balls on the court. Djokovic is the same type of player who can keep more balls on the court, waiting on one person or waiting to, make sure you're hitting more balls to your weaker area. And I'm saying Djokovic, overpowering Nishikori, because Djokovic is a player that he's more aggressive on the court. Nishikori is the same way, but at the end of the day, I feel Djokovic is going to power him.
Djokovic is going to power him.
Yeah.
Who is favorite among these four to win the US Open?
I think I'm going to go with Del Potro.
With Del Potro?
Yeah.
So you are thinking that Del Potro will edge out Nadal this evening?
Yeah.
I see. Who is your top favorite to come out of these four as the winner of the US Open?
My own Serbian Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic.
Okay, I see. Me, anyone who wins apart from Rafael Nadal, I'm cool with that. But like I said earlier, something big happening on the local front is the Hope Performance Tennis Championship. The brain behind it, the founder, Enock Godi, and he's getting direction from Cedric, Dzelu, who is the executive director and taking care of things here on the local front. Now, Hope Godi is a member of Ghana's Davis Cup team in 2012. Now, how did this whole idea come about?
Yeah, so this whole idea about forming Hope Performance Tennis happened when I came back home last year, and I realized, most of the young generation coming up as tennis players, going through the same thing I went through, because my coming up as a tennis player was very, very difficult for me. I went through a lot of challenges, coming up as a tennis player. So when I came back home last year, I saw the young generation coming up as a tennis player going through the same thing I went through. So this encouraged me to give it back to the community, by coming up with tennis programs, by coming up with clinics.
But personally, how easy or difficult was it for you coming up as a tennis player?
So the difficulty that I faced coming out as a tennis player, and let me say thank you for this question. I mean, anytime they ask me this question, it's always like, very difficult for me to answer, because my coming out as a tennis player was very difficult for me. Like I said, I was homeless for 5 years when I was playing tennis as a child. Wow. And I wake up in the morning, not knowing not knowing where my daily bread is gonna come from, but I have to as a tennis player, I was focusing on what I want to achieve in my future. I wasn't thinking of, okay, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to eat tomorrow? But my focus was, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is how I'm going to break through. Okay. So I did everything on my own. So when I came and I saw the young generation coming up as tennis players, going through the same thing I went through, I feel like, no, this is not right. I need to come out there and give the support that I get. So that's how I came up with Hope Performance Tennis, to create a program, to organize stuff that is going to benefit the kids.
Okay. Now, Technical Director Cedric, tell us what has been happening with the Hope Performance Tennis.
So the foundation is hosting its maiden program, the flagship program that started on the 5th, Wednesday, and is ending tomorrow, the Saturday. So on the 5th, we had the start of the clinic. Yesterday was the continuation of the clinic, and so far we have recorded 382 young people who have populated the stadium for this clinic. As I speak to you, the Accra Sports Stadium has truly come alive, and there is competition that is going on now. So we have the tournament today and tomorrow, taking the format of a Davis Cup kind of competition. Wow. This is what is happening.
How many teams, how many kids are involved with this program?
Yeah, so 12 clubs are involved in this tournament. 11 of them from the Greater Accra region and 1 from the Central region, that is the Winneba Sports College. Like I said before, we have counted 382. The numbers keep rising. I'm sure that if we leave here and get to the stadium, we should be counting something close to 400. Okay.
Now, what do these kids stand to gain in all of this?
So in all of this, these kids stand to gain because we have high-profile coaches. For the whole clinic, we have high-profile coaches that are, I mean, coaching these kids, telling them what to do, giving them directions, and then also Hope Performance Tennis is coming on board with gifts, with equipment, with items, that they're going to be giving to the kids that is going to help them in their tennis career.
Also, it means that after the competition, you are going to give out some equipment to them.
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about?
So we're talking about rackets, we're talking about shoes, we're talking about clothes, and tennis balls and stuff.
Wow, I see. But, Director, what is the involvement or the engagement with the body that oversees tennis activities in this country, the Ghana Tennis Federation?
The foundation is very much aware that tennis is a sport that is regulated, here in Ghana. And so the Ghana Tennis Federation has been extensively involved in this. We have written to the establishment. We've had a series of meetings with the president of the federation, Mr. Isaac Abedia, and the federation has given their blessings for this. But then also, we've also written to stakeholders in the game. Beyond the federation, written to the clubs, calling on the chairman of the various clubs, writing to them, requesting for the time of these keys, and then other stakeholders, ensuring that we have exhausted all protocol and procedures, in taking off. And truly, we have taken off on a good note.
But, what is the bigger vision for this project? Where would you see, this is the maiden edition, and you got this dream last year when you visited the country and saw how kids with talent were struggling, just as you did back in the day. What is the vision like? Where do you expect to carry this vision in the next 5 years?
So the vision for Hope Performance Tennis for the next 5 to 10 years is we want to cover the whole nation.
Wow.
We want to cover the whole nation. We want to introduce the game of tennis to the virgin regions, that don't have, tennis, in their areas. And, introducing the game of tennis, you don't have to have a tennis court, to introduce the game. We can just, set up something and have the kids, playing with the ball. All you need is hand and eye coordination. So our goal is the next 5 to 10 years, we should take over the country. We should introduce the game to the virgin regions like the Volta region, Northern region, and all those places. How
are you going to sustain this? We know that this tennis is a very capital-intensive sport. How do you hope to sustain this?
So I would hope to sustain this. So Hope Performance is a non-profit organization. So since it's a non-profit organization, we have board members. We have program and project that they work on those areas to make sure we're having sponsorship, we're having funds from our people that comes in to help the organization to get it to work. Okay,
Coach, we continue to hear technical director, high performance training. What is that about?
High performance training is the kind of training that raises the profile of these players to that it can be measured anywhere in the world. We are raising their performance to be as competitive as anyone at their age group can be. So we have 16 and under, 14 and under, and 12 and under. So that these players are given the kind of training in agility, in skill, that raises them to the profile of their peers.
Now, is this program limited to only the less privileged in society? And is it free? Is it a free program?
Yeah, certainly not limited to only the less privileged. The foundation is concerned about bridging the gap by giving hope to young people through tennis. We are mindful of the fact that, yes, less privileged tend to benefit more than this, but then it is also not lost on us that even those who are privileged equally need hope. And so, like the president said, we intend to visit virgin areas. Schools that have affluent kids are also places that are virgin that we need to visit. And if you go to the stadium now, you will identify with some kids who are from very privileged backgrounds but yet are participating. We are bridging the gap without any kind of discrimination.
Okay, my guest, Enock Godi, founder of Hope Performance Tennis Foundation, and he's also a member of Ghana's 2012 Davis Cup team and technical director or executive director for Hope Performance Tennis Foundation, are here with me in the studios. But remember that Rising Sports Network, their maiden tournament will be hosted, yes, in my adopted hometown, Pando. And Rising Sports Network is an up-and-coming sports consortium whose aim is to take sporting activities to a different level across the country and beyond. Now, the consortium engages in